A very good morning to Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons. Where are you today, dear?
Oh, I'm back in Bromley. I was in Paris over the weekend, though, Jeremy, and I went to Les Invalides, where Napoleon, his tomb is there, and very poignant because that's where Emmanuel Macron will be this morning to have the commemoration ceremony. That's where it'll be starting today in France.
I wanted to say to you about Armistice Day. We've talked already what Armistice Day means, and we had a wonderful text from a lady whose father sadly died last night, aged 102. So many veterans, so many people gave their lives to put us in a position, the liberty, the freedoms, and so many seem to be eroded, and so much belief and trust in this country seems to be evaporating. Before we get into the doom and gloom, Nigel Evans, what, in your opinion, still makes Britain great today? What is great about Great Britain, my friend?
It is us standing on the shoulders of those who've gone before us. So my grandfather fought in the First World War. My father fought in the Second World War. I still got the bugle of my grandfather that he carried on the Somme. And it is only because of the recognition of duty and the importance of what being British is all about. It's that link. It's the link that exists between former generations and hopefully what people like you and I and others watching your program will be able to impart to other people too. The importance of what makes our country great. Yeah, it's tarnished. No two ways about it, Jeremy. But that shouldn't prevent us from wanting to see a much better United Kingdom in the future.
God, you speak well, Evans. No wonder you lasted 30 years. Let's talk about the main news story on the front of the Sun today. Great piece by Jack Elsom. Beeb's billion-dollar bungle. I know I've sort of qualified this all morning, but there's a reason, and you'll get this. He's threatened to sue the BBC for $1 billion unless he gets a full and frank apology by Friday. Starmer says there's nothing wrong. It's stronger than ever. All the do-gooders on the left are running around saying this is just an attempt by Trump to control the mainstream media. I don't want the argument to be lost under this Trump, you know, if you like, legal challenge. I want people at the BBC to answer why all of those instances that I keep repeating, Bob Villan being anti-Semitic whilst the Director General allows that to be streamed for 5 hours, Martin Croxall, a really, really respected newsreader, changing pregnant people to pregnant women. I don't understand why the BBC, and we're watching pictures of Deborah Turness, who was having to leave as the head of news. She came out and said, we're not systematically biased. It's great. We're fantastic. I've total confidence. I don't believe, Nigel Evans, that the majority of people in this country do have the faith that our national state broadcaster is straight down the middle. And I think these problems are not centred on Donald Trump. I think there are many, many deep-rooted problems. And Nigel Farage said it yesterday. Andrew Griffiths said it yesterday. This is a seminal moment for the BBC. You need to be on a level playing field with other broadcasters and prove your bloody worth, because it doesn't stack up anymore, certainly the way they behave. Would you agree?
Yeah, I used to sit on the culture committee, and, you know, this is one of the times when I do miss being in the House of Commons, because I'd love to be on that committee again, chaired by Caroline Dinenage, to have a go at these people because they simply don't get it. You know, yesterday, this morning I listened to Nick Robinson's piece from the Today programme yesterday, and literally he hasn't got the faintest idea. He's basically blaming other people. Well, I got to tell you, if you don't make the incredible glaring errors that have been made, and you've mentioned a ton of them. The one that does get me as well as Donald Trump's is the Martine Croxall one, because she spoke for an absolute nation when she corrected the auto cue to say pregnant people to pregnant women and rolled her eyes. She spoke for all of us, and it just shows you how appalling the organisation has become, and the fact that Keir Starmer doesn't really get it. And you talk about, you know, what the normal people in this country really believe about the BBC. Well, you've only got to look at the viewing figures to find out exactly what most people do think about them. And this includes the BBC News as well, which used to be the jewel in the crown.
Yeah.
Now, so few people are watching the BBC. If you look at the 16 to 24-year-olds, only 5% of them are watching mainstream media, which includes the BBC, at all. So people are marching with their feet. They're just simply not watching the BBC. But the problem is, Jeremy, we're all forced to pay for it.
I mean, that's to me the issue here. I mean, I've had, before the end of the show, I'll play a repeat of the call out with John Mayer, a BBC producer, deranged. I mean, there is this feeling inside the BBC that they are untouchable. The Royal Charter is not up for a couple of years. 5.39 billion quid. My argument, Nigel, is this, right? The landscape of how people get their news and watch their television programmes has changed. Terrestrial television will never, ever be what it was. Somebody was telling me the other day, Barrymore, before all the problems, would get on a Tuesday evening, I think at 8 o'clock, 20 million for Strike It Lucky, right? You're lucky if you get 1 million viewers now. Terrestrial television has been usurped by, what was it, in the last radio, I think, the last audience figures, I think YouTube was nearly the #1 way of people watching stuff. People get their news, get their views in different ways, right? The BBC, to me, is this sort of old-fashioned huge thing, a bit like the NHS, that's revered and gets all this money and is untouchable. And that's sort of been all right. But A&1, the landscape's changed and everybody has to be competitive and prove by what they put out that they are a viable business to follow. But secondly, it's allowed the BBC to manufacture a position that I don't think anybody in this country, bar the people that work for the BBC, think is balanced at all or representative of what a national state broadcast could be. I'm amazed that they continue to get away with it. I think it is. And even Turness this morning, you know, walking in saying, I'm proud of journalism. John Mayer, the guy that I spoke to earlier, we'll hear it later, saying, well, it's just the odd mistake. The odd mistake. Doctoring the essential... doctoring Trump's speech isn't just a basic mistake. It's appalling journalism, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just doctoring it. It is actually to say something completely different to what the president did actually say. And it is appalling. I mean, part of the problem is the umbilical cord between the BBC and its viewers has never been cut. And in a changing atmosphere of where people are actually watching entertainment these days or getting their news has changed completely. The newspapers have all had to gravitate on towards onto the internet. They've had to ensure that there is a stream of income now coming, you know, the monetization of it one way, shape, form or another. The Daily Mail does it via sort of a hybrid subscription and getting adverts at the same time. You've got people like The Times, which do similarly, but have the subscription model as its base. The Telegraph, exactly the same. So it's changed completely, whereas the BBC is holding on to this umbilical cord saying, please feed us, please feed us. And everything has changed. It would have been much, much better 20 years ago had they recognised the changing landscape and decided that they were going to move on to something that was going to be way more futuristic and offering the people what they want. You know, customer is king. When they walk into a shop and buy something, when you're forced to go into a shop and buy something, which is what the BBC are doing, then they can act in the cavalier way that they are, and then to try and justify it when they alter the words of the President of the United States, or the former president as he was, in the way that they did, to mean something completely malicious and vicious in the way that they've done it. But it's not just that. It is the LGBT bias. It is the anti-Semitic bias that is contained within the BBC, or the pro-Hamas bias. I mean, they just simply don't get it. And to come out defending it in the way that they did. It's almost Orwellian for Nick Robertson to basically turn on people who are basically pointing out the bleeding obvious. There's something wrong at the heart of the BBC. And just getting rid of two at the top, Tim Davie and Trezol, is it her name?
Deborah Turness.
Turness, sorry. Yeah, the head chief exec officer of BBC News. Just getting rid of that couple isn't going to change the
ideology. I'd say it's not going to change the ideology, because I don't think the state broadcaster should have an ideology. We haven't got long, but I want to bring you to something else, and I'm going to make you smile, Nigel Evans. Rachel Thieves has hinted she'll scrap the 2-child benefit cap. This is her hinting she'll do it. Yesterday, I think.
I don't think we can lose sight as well of the costs to our economy in allowing child poverty to go unchecked. And in the end, a child should not be penalised because their parents don't have very much money. Lots and lots of different reasons why families change shape and size over time, and I don't think that it's right that a child is penalised because they are in a bigger family through no fault of their own.
Nigel, before I get your response to that, because mine's quite vociferous, this is your old party. Well, I say your current party for now. This is the latest Conservative montage on racial thieves. Enjoy.
Labour will not put up your income tax, national insurance or VAT.
We are having to look at taxes.
I'm really clear. I'm not coming back with more borrowing or more taxes.
There is a question of trust, isn't there? What is the point of a manifesto if it doesn't last a day beyond you being elected into office?
Will your promise not to raise rates on income tax, VAT or employees' national insurance hold good for the whole of this Parliament?
Yes, absolutely. It's an absolute commitment. We've now wiped the slate clean. It's now on us. It's now on us.
It would, of course, be possible to stick with the manifesto commitments, but that would require things like deep cuts in capital spending.
That means taxes are going up again, doesn't it?
Well, I'll deliver the budget in a couple of weeks' time. I have been really clear that we are looking at both taxes and spending as part of this budget.
You've made clear that that manifesto promise is going to be broken.
It's now on us. It's now on us.
It's now on us. Nigel Evans, good morning.
Well, I'll tell you what, right? When she says, yeah, we could stick to the manifesto or we could do something else. Well, what is, I think Matt Chorley said exactly the same. What is the use of a manifesto if you're going to deviate from it? Deviate it from in your first budget and now deviate again on it in your second budget. She says she doesn't want to penalise children, but she does want to penalise every taxpayer in this country. And it looks as if she's picking on pensioners as well as a unique select group on which to pick on in order to shift the tax, put income tax up, decrease national insurance, and the one group of people who don't pay national insurance are pensioners. So she's actually picking, she's penalising pensioners in order to break her manifesto promises. The issue on the BBC, Jeremy, is all about trust. The trust now between the viewer and the BBC is absolutely broken, and I don't think can be repaired. And the trust between this government and the voters is now going to be completely and utterly shattered. She has no money. Her choice is not raising taxes and spending more. It is actually to keep her promise on the manifesto and not put up taxes and to spend less money. She hasn't got the money to break the two-child cap.
And it would be,
doesn't have it.
It would be very honest to say she hasn't got the money because, and all the people who say, well, it was inherited. And listen, you know how vocal I was about the Tories' failures, although I think financially we're in a better position. The truth is we hear repeatedly about the black hole, and then you come into power, you spend 11 billion giving raises to your union mates, the junior doctors, who, lo and behold, are coming back for more. You give £16 billion away to the Mauritians, as well as the Chagos Island. That means that the Mauritian people won't pay any income tax. Her maths just doesn't add up. For me, the two-child cap benefit, and a lot of people agreeing, a lot of people not agreeing, that's the essence of a democracy. I think, yeah, people should have the right to have kids. 1, 2, fine. But there also surely has to come a point where if you're saying to people who are getting out of bed and going to work and paying their taxes and they've got a couple of kids, or maybe they don't think they should have kids because of their financial situation, we really appreciate all that you're doing and living your life correctly, but we're going to make you pay even more tax to pay for people who've already got 2 kids to have 3, 4, 5, and will continue doling out the money. That is ludicrous. It is yet another example of how this country's intentions are sometimes great, but how the direction of those intentions, in my humble opinion, be it illegal migrants on the welfare state or whatever, is always aimed at the wrong... Whether it's gamed or not, it doesn't make fiscal sense to say, have 5 kids, we'll pay for it. Sorry you're going to work, but you're going to be screwed to pay for that woman sitting at home having 5 children. Doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah. Lifting that cap is going to cost another $3.5 billion. And what is the announcement today? Unemployment's gone up from 4.8% to 5%. That's since this government came to power, we are now having to support another 180,000 people who are on the dole queue. So that £20 billion hole that she spoke about just over a year ago, and she seemed affronted when anybody questioned whether they would be able to not raise taxes. And she said, oh, no, everything's costed. Well, clearly it is not costed. And because of her first budget, unemployment's now gone up. Profitability on industry is far worse, particularly in hospitality. The black hole has got deeper. We can't even see to the bottom of that black hole anymore, Jeremy, and it's getting worse. And this budget that's coming up on November the 26th is going to not be the day that any of us are going to be looking forward to in this country. That we have the most incompetent government, I think, I have ever seen in my lifetime.
Those are strong words. Make sure you keep your diary free for the 26th budget day. You'll be on. Thank you so much indeed. Nigel Evans, 9:24. Don't forget